Ninjago second parters haven't really had a very good track record. Sure, there's only ever really been one, but that one was so bad that it basically cursed every other Ninjago second part to come after it. And with the second and final part of the first Dragons Rising season released, we can put the second part curse to the test with a good old fashioned review of the second part of this new Ninjago era, seeing if Dragons Rising Part 2 is more of a disappointment than the second part of Crystalized, which would be a very hard task to accomplish. So now, why don't we kick off this Dragons Rising Part 2 review with what was my most anticipated part of this half a season, other than seeing more of Mr. Frohickey of course. That being the introduction of a whole new Jin character. I've made it no secret that Skybound is at the top of my favourite things spawned from Ninjago list. It's certainly a whole lot higher than this. And when a new red colour Jin was first shown off in one of the Part 2 trailers, needless to say, I pulled a pretty mean soy face. Finally getting to see something Skybound related in years, that wasn't just a teapot of Tyron thrown into the background for people to clickbait with. This new Jin certainly didn't disappoint, having the pretty badass name of Arakor. He even gets a badass accessory of literally having his entire realm on a necklace. Now that is one hell of a flex. When Arakor was first revealed, I was not expecting his pretty little necklace to hold the last remains of Ninjago. A small grain of sand from the once proud kingdom that, with enough wish magic, is able to grow to a much larger size and possibly bring Ninjago back in its entirety. Or like the average size of a Minecraft chunk. Arakor better hope somebody will wish away his back problems, because this thing is not going to be easy to have around your neck after a couple more wishes. Even though Arakor only got like half an episode's worth of screen time, his small character arc was done really well. Arakor once being this noble and strong Jin warrior, becoming a lonely, depressed and powerless Jin after losing his homeland. But with some encouraging words from Nia about nobody truly being powerless, a lesson she learned herself from the season that shall not be named, and a healthy dose of hope from Sora, who almost takes a page right out of Skybound's book, describing wishes as nothing but hope that if you try hard enough, everything will work out. Kinda similar to how in Skybound, Lloyd said if you want something bad enough, you find a way to make it happen. For that Skybound reference alone, this episode is automatically a 10 out of 10. Unfortunately though, I may need to change that perfect score into a 9.999 out of 10, as despite Nia crossing paths with another wish-granting Jin, Noton wasn't mentioned once within the episode. I guess it just shows that Nia has moved on from the Skybound trauma, and doesn't hold Noton's actions against other Jins. All one of them. Good on Nia for not being racist, I suppose. I still would have liked maybe a little hesitation from Nia, not exactly trusting Arakor at first, and telling Sora to be cautious around the Jin. All we really got was Nia putting her arm in for the Sora after Arakor called himself a Jin. I really do hope that Arakor becomes a reoccurring character, lending a hand to the ninja every once in a while. Or should I say hands, but because he has 4 arms, yeah, okay, you get it. It would certainly be very handy to have an ally that can just grant wishes. If there's a new threat in town, simply wish for them to go away and that's the problem solved. I doubt it will ever happen, but I really want to see Arakor and Noton meet. Two completely different kinds of Jin with different ideals. Arakor being a noble warrior for peace, while Noton is a greedy, selfish and manipulative Jin, abusing his power of wish magic. Well, I'm sure if these two Jins ever were to meet, a fight between the two would certainly be a top tier action scene, battling it out to decide who can really call themselves the last Jin. Stepping away from my Skybound obsession, let's now focus on one of our new main characters introduced in the first part, Wildfire. I would say I quite enjoyed Wildfire in the first part of Dragons Rising. She was a great source of comedy and overall a fun new character with a mysterious new elemental power. And in this second part, they were able to develop her character a good bit more, adding some more layers and making Wildfire overall a more interesting character to watch. But my favourite thing they did with her in this second part was develop her and Kai's relationship, giving the two fire wielders a sort of student and mentor relationship, with Kai taking on the mentor role, which was great to see. Kai becoming a new mentor for Wildfire is perfect character progression for our favourite spiky haired ninja. It's great to see this character we've been following since the very beginning for over 10 years finally reach the status of being a mentor to a new member of the team. It really highlights that over his years of being a ninja, Kai has truly grown as a person, mostly leaving behind his hot-headed side and becoming a more mature type of character, being able to give a bit of wisdom to the younger generation. And we get to see this exact thing happen in a wonderfully done scene in the episode The Administration, which, trust me, we'll be getting to in this review as I have quite a few thoughts to share. Everything about this small moment between Kai and Wildfire is perfect, down to the music and the actual conversation between the two, with Kai helping teach Wildfire a way to calm herself down by moving through forms, something that Master Wu thought Kai to do to deal with his grief after losing Nia when she merged with the sea. Something that would have been perfect to show in you know what, but hey, it's a good thing Dragons Rising is correcting the wrongs of that particular entry. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they continue to develop Kai and Wildfire's mentor and student relationship throughout the future of Dragons Rising. But something I don't look forward to seeing more of in Dragons Rising are these two bastards, probably the evilest parents in all of Ninjago, and trust me, there's some pretty steep competition for that title. In the final episode of the season, The Power Within, Sora finally comes face to face with her parents, not having seen them since she ran off at the start of the merge, which, as you would expect, leads to a pretty emotional confrontation between the two parties. After finally getting to reunite with her daughter after several years, you would think that maybe Sora's parents would have seen the error of their ways and learned to appreciate their daughter for who she truly is. You would be declared an idiot if you thought that. Instead, Sora's wonderful parents tried to force her to come back to them, making themselves look like the victims in the situation, saying that Sora abandoned them while they were the ones who abandoned Sora. I'm actually pretty glad they didn't try to redeem Sora's parents. Sometimes people just don't change and continue to be the terrible people they are, and I think that's a good thing to show here, with Sora realizing that she should never have to prove herself to her parents and is now part of a much better family. Sora's parents in this scene also do a great job at showing how deep Empress Beatrix's corruption and influence goes. Even after being shown video proof of the Empress admitting to killing her own father and doing some rather dastardly deeds, they still believe she's innocent and is their one true ruler that can be trusted. You know, it kinda feels like the Ninjago writers are trying to tell us something with all this political mumbo jumbo. As Beatrix's father was just briefly mentioned, why not take a look at the not so happy Imperium royal family, with Emperor Levo looking like Wu with a cheap sponsorship, and Beatrix's sister, Zeatrix. Wow, she got the elemental power and the cooler name, no wonder Beatrix wanted her gone. And yes, I did just say that Zeatrix has an elemental power, which was genuinely such a shock when I first watched the episode Absolute Power. I would say what it is, but there's literally no way to tell what in the world it is. They didn't name her power in the episode or the rest of the season, and just looking at her use the power against Roz, there's nothing that really gives it away. All we can really tell is that it's purple and is mainly portrayed in an octagon shape, with Zeatrix only using it to shoot herself into the air and push Roz back. Maybe her elemental power is just the force. Currently, we don't even know what happened to Zeatrix. She was lucky enough to not have the same deadly fate as her father, but it doesn't seem like she was locked up like Roz, as she didn't escape once the power was cut. So I guess Beatrix just had her exiled from Imperium with a potential return in a future season. We've been talking an awful lot about all these new characters, so why don't we welcome back a familiar friend that you've all missed dearly, Chancellor Gulch. I'm obviously talking about Cole, but I just had to give the two Chancellor Gulch fans something, which does include myself. Cole's return to the show was handled almost perfectly in part 2 of Dragons Rising, with Nia and Sora finding him in the newly introduced Land of Lost Things, a part of the Imperium realm where lost and forgotten things end up. Perhaps that's where we'll find the rest of the Ninjago manga. Within this new Land of Lost Things, Cole is taking on a sort of protector role, looking after the Finders, a group of lost and forgotten characters, including a young Formling and Hypnobright, which is a totally missed opportunity to not include Scales Jr., a skulking named Bonzo, and by far the most interesting member, Geo. Cole taking it upon himself to protect this small band of forgotten characters after ending up in the Land of Lost Things is perfectly in character for the Master of Earth. After almost being forgotten about during Days of the Departed, he probably wants to make sure that this group doesn't go through the same experience. The relationship that Cole has formed with Geo is fantastic, with Cole being able to make Geo actually feel wanted/needed after being rejected by his entire species. My only complaint with Cole's return is that he really only got to be in 1.5 episodes, feeling less like a main character and more of a character of the day. After waiting so long for him to return, it's so disappointing that he gets so little screen time and is barely brought up again. I really hope that in the second season, Cole gets a lot more time to shine, and with how his story ended in this part with Master Wu's spirit seeming to be guiding him towards something, I'm looking forward to seeing more of Cole in the next season with hopefully a much bigger focus. Roz was certainly a very intimidating new threat to the ninja in the first part, and in this second part, he did absolutely nothing. But that doesn't mean everyone's second favorite anthropomorphic tiger didn't have a presence in this part, the first being Tony the Tiger of course. Although Roz spent basically the entire second part in a prison cell, he was still portrayed as a very cunning and ruthless villain through his flashback in Imperium, and the way he manipulates Empress Beatrix. By far the most interesting thing Roz does in the second part is mention the fact that he has a master, which I'm calling it now is the Overlord. If that actually happens, I swear I am done with these plastic bastards. This final scene in the final episode makes me very excited for the future of Dragons Rising, my mind captivated with who Roz's master could be. Just knowing that the writers have actually planned this overarching story makes me really look forward to future seasons. The mystery of Roz's master isn't the only interesting major setup in the second part, as in the pretty filler episode Gangs of the Sea, Lloyd and Aaron have to fight off this large crab-like monster, which was being controlled by some strange extra tooth. With the show not telling us who is controlling the crab, it creates another mystery for a potential mystery threat that the ninja will have to face off against in the future of Dragons Rising, which again makes me very excited as to where that storyline will go. Please don't tell me the big overarching villain of Dragons Rising is going to be a dentist. And now finally, what I found to be the most interesting part of the entirety of Dragons Rising Part 2, the administration. This extremely backrooms inspired area used to be part of the Realm of Madness, which is very fitting. A place ran by these agents that believe they have authority over everything, but all of their paperwork is basically useless, but they take it very seriously. Kind of reminds me a little of Cloud Kingdom with the Riders of Destiny. The administration is a very complex location, using a lot of very big and confusing words that I am not smart enough to understand. There's a great amount of eeriness and mystery to this organization, but it's also pretty funny, with its many different permits and long lines, essentially just being the Ninjago DMV. But of course, the main thing to discuss about the administration is Jay Mickey's not so grand return, having just under 10 seconds of screen time, being a glorified MCU cameo. As Jay is my favorite Ninjago character, it's hard to say that I'm not disappointed with Jay's lackluster appearance in the show, but I'm really hoping that the next season will more heavily involve the administration, which should hopefully result in Jay actually doing something. Also, Jay supposedly has amnesia or some kind of memory loss, but in the one scene we have of him, it really doesn't seem that way, with Jay still playing video games and having the same kind of comedic attitude. Once a gamer, always a gamer I suppose. We aren't quite finished yet, as literally the day before Dragons Rising Part 2 released, I made a video all about predicting what would happen in this highly anticipated Ninjago installment. So why don't we see how accurate my predictions were, starting with my prediction of Roz being from Chima, which unfortunately was not correct, with Roz instead coming from the realm of wildness. But I'm still hooked up on copium that Chima is a part of the wildness, making it so that Roz can technically still be from Chima. I just feel that there's way too much going for this possibility for it not to be true in some way. The next prediction I want to bring up is that I said that all of the ninja would end up fighting together against Imperium, which, just like my Roz prediction, did not exactly happen, with Cole and Jay sitting out the big epic climactic battle. I was really expecting at least Cole to come in and save the day at the last second, and maybe Jay could have used his power in the administration to lend a hand without the ninja knowing it was him. From two predictions that didn't work out, to a prediction that did actually work out. Within my predictions video, I made the bold claim that no side characters would be making a return, such as Pixel, Ronin, or Skylar, which wouldn't you know that after watching the 10 episodes, none of the original show's major side characters appeared. Another prediction that actually worked out relates to Sora, in which I almost exactly predicted how her story in part 2 would go, mentioning that she would unlock her true potential and that confronting her parents would be the key to doing so, and that's pretty much what happened in the final episode. Eren wasn't left out of the predictions, as I guessed that Eren would master his own former spin jutsu, with Eren doing exactly that. As well as that, I claimed that Eren wouldn't reunite with his parents, and I guess that was kinda true. During the final episode, Eren gets a small glimpse of his parents who also seem to see him, but since it's not exactly a face-to-face reunion, I'm gonna give myself the point on this one. When Geo was first showcased within one of the Part 2 trailers, I thought that his elemental power would be the forgotten element of magnetism, which ended up not being true. Geo instead having the power of fusion, the ability to stick together any objects, so basically having the elemental power of superglue. With Geo having the power of fusion instead of magnetism, you know what that means. Magno could still be alive, baby! I'm calling it now that Dragons Rising Season 2 will be the season of Magno. Now that all my major predictions are finished with, some doing better than others, it's time to give Part 2 of Dragons Rising a final score. I would ask for a drumroll, but I don't have the budget for that anymore after buying this. Dragons Rising Part 2 gets a score of 9 out of 10, an almost perfect score for an almost perfect second half of a season. I would say I definitely prefer Part 2 of Dragons Rising over the first part. There's just a whole lot more going on within the second part, with some incredible action, storytelling, and expanding of the Ninjago world. Dragons Rising Season 1 certainly deserves to be placed very high up on the shelf of Ninjago installments, truly being peak Ninjago and giving the franchise a very bright future ahead. Meanwhile, this thing doesn't even get to be on the shelf.